Welcome back to All That Jam, where music has no limits. I'm joined today by Amanda and John Ferrara
Hello.
about his band, Mono Means One. How we doing, John?
Doing great, man. Thanks for having me.
Yes, everyone, well, I'm going to be upfront and transparent with everyone. We spoke with John maybe 6 weeks, 2 months ago, and the recording got lost. So, Mono Means One is the great lost recording.
Don't worry, I've been studying the transcript and I remember it word for word.
Okay. I'm glad somebody did.
Yeah.
So Mono Means One is you, you and Rob and Isaac. You want to just give us a little bit about the origin story and how this came to be?
Absolutely. So Mono Means One started about maybe 3 or 4 years ago during COVID. I was living alone down in North Carolina in Asheville. And I just kind of wanted to get away from everything. Touring had stopped for Consider the Source, my project for many, many years. And everything was on hold. I was going through some personal stuff and I just kind of wanted to clear my head. So I went down there and just started laying down these solo pieces that I've been working on for quite some time. And, every time I write a solo piece, I enjoy it. I enjoy the process so much, but I also hear all these other layers on top of it. So I started using Logic, a recording software, and I just started layering just the melodies I was hearing, putting them on top, drum parts I was hearing, very crudely at first, but whatever I could do, getting the ideas down and recording all the different sounds that I was hearing. And by the end of my time living down there, I had accrued, honestly, probably several albums worth of material.
Mhm.
And I sat on that material for a really long time, not really knowing what to do with it and trying to conceive of like, how would I do this? It's all recorded on bass, even though I've masked the sounds to sound like different instruments. I was thinking what instruments would be best for this? Definitely drums. I knew that. But for the melodic stuff, do I need like a 5 or 6 piece band to do all these things? And so, when I really started touring the project, I was just doing it solo at first and live looping, backing tracks, foot percussion, um, foot pedals, like organ pedals that are like MIDI.
Okay.
And I was able to do a lot just on my own, and it was very fun. And I really loved the challenge of it, but it wasn't it. It wasn't really this wasn't doing the songs the justice that they really deserved. So that's when I contacted Isaac and Rob, who are in a duo project called PX3, and they're just monster players, and they do live improv. And I was thinking, I wonder how they would do with a little bit of structure. If I can kind of give them these songs that I'm working on and work with Isaac on dividing up the melodic parts between the two of us and showing Rob the drum parts that I had in mind and seeing what he would bring to the table with his very vast array of skills. And so I had a hunch that it would work, and thankfully I was right. That when we started playing together, the guys were open to me literally booking a tour and then just saying, "Hey guys, can you be my band for this tour?" We got a whole bunch of shows booked, and they were very open to it. They worked their asses off to get the songs up and running in time with like 4 weeks in advance notice, and that was it. We started playing together and figuring out who should be playing what and how it was all going to work, and we're still figuring it out. But
Yeah.
Right. Now,
we've
all
had
these
pretty
songs,
good, yeah.
all these songs are on Listless Playthings with Enormous Forces, your LP that just came out.
Yes. Well, we've already been writing some new songs that aren't on the album. We're already kind of at that point where we have a bit of a repertoire. But yes,
Mhm.
Listless Playthings of Enormous Forces came out very recently, and we're in the middle of touring it, and it's been going really, really well. Very excited.
Nice. And it's got that reference, which I think I've talked about before, the Slaughterhouse-Five
Yes.
reference. So one thing that I've been thinking of taking that album, but also Consider the Source and your solo work together, I wanted to ask if this feels correct, my statement I'm about to make, which is intentionality seems to be one of the driving forces of everything you do, whether it's a solo, live work, the recordings. how do you kind of receive that? Does that seem like something that pertains to how you view your work?
Very much so. I'm of the opinion that, we have to do art as humans. It's
Mhm.
it's part of our nature. And the reason for it is to express ourselves, to get closer to whatever any individual perceives of as God or their spirituality. It's integral to who we are. So any project that I'm a part of has to have that element. Otherwise, it's why on earth would you do it? I don't understand the mindset of doing things kind of like, not to sound curmudgeon-y, but just for fun,
Mhm.
like that should be an element of it, but there should be something else behind it. And I feel like if everyone kind of follows that, whatever that is for them, the art that they come up with is going to be true to themselves, and it's going to resonate with people so much deeper. And one of my favorite parts about this pursuit as my life's work is seeing the symbiosis and really feeling it between people who the music does resonate with. And any music or art that you do, it's going to resonate with some people and it's not going to always resonate with other people, and that's completely fine.
Mhm.
It's really a matter of putting forth with intentionality, and with the as far as you can peel the layers away from yourself and be as honest as you can, putting that forth to people, and then letting it resonate with them to the extent that it does, and then kind of they become fans and oftentimes friends, and you start just seeing like we have a nice little ecosystem where we can see eye to eye, and
Mhm.
along the way some new people come, and along the way you change and you make new art and reach some new people.
Yeah, I love that. So how does that then, let's talk about the new album. Tell us, in your own words, then how that connects back, because I know this is about, our modern era, how
Mhm.
people are kind of working their way through technology and just, the world that we live in. So yeah, I'd love to know how you're bringing that into this set of songs.
Sure. Well, it's funny because it's instrumental music, so there's no lyrics that overtly express the things, but the energy behind a lot of what I've been writing has been this sadness and frustration over, things like dependence on social media, dependence on technology, and it's not saying that there's anything inherently wrong with either, but it's the way that we've
Mhm.
at this time in history, the way humanity is and the way we're relating to these things, I think is not very healthy. And, you see it in a lot of cases. It's funny. I'm actually just right now I'm looking at the name of it, a Netflix documentary called Dancing for the Devil. And it's about this TikTok star that gets, brought into a cult and it's very dark and it's very real.
Mhm.
And it very much speaks to this idea of, like listless playthings of enormous forces. The enormous forces in that case is the
Mhm.
giants of social media, and the fact that if you're a quote unquote content creator, which you could just say an artist in a lot of cases, because we have to create content in order to support ourselves through our art, we have to kind of be on call to do that thing constantly
Mhm.
and get out of our comfort zone. I'm an introvert by nature, despite how much I'm talking right now. So doing the social media thing has always been very challenging for me, because sometimes I don't feel like having a camera in my face. Sometimes I don't feel like, you know, uh, putting on a smile and doing that thing. I just want to play some music, and I'd love to share it,
Right.
but don't want to do this whole
Yeah.
song and dance.
The idea of content really gets under my skin because it's reduced the work of art down to a commodity.
Yes, absolutely. It has. And it's funny because on the one hand, there are some immense benefits to it, where you get exposed to some musicians out there that are fantastic, and then you start following their work. But the problem is, a lot of people, they don't really always start following your work. They start following your clips. They start following the 20 or 30 seconds you're posting at a time, and those are the best damn 20 or 30 seconds you have. They didn't see the 20 or 30 takes that were mess ups with
Oh, yeah.
curses behind them. So it gives us this kind of false narrative, internally.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had students come to me and they say, man, like I want to be able to have what you have and play the way you play and this and that. I'm like, look, man, I got to just tell you completely honestly, like, when you see me make a post and I'm outside, on the beach, I'm not like a multimillionaire. I worked really hard for that couple days of vacation.
I drove 2 hours
to go there, and I just so happened to put my camera on.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's without getting too heavier into that kind of stuff. That's one of the themes that's been really igniting my interest lately. And
did you choose to record in a yurt for this reason? Kind of like, let's get back to the earth with the yurt, but put the technology in it.
Well, I mean, not directly, but now that you bring it up, it might have been an unconscious, it might have been an unconscious part to it. But the reason I recorded there is because I've learned that the set and setting of where you're recording is just as important, if not more important, than the gear you're using. So I've recorded in a lot of places where all bandmates are ready to go, know their parts, the songs are fully written. We're going to do our 3 takes and then move on to the next song and keep on chugging along, right? And I'm proud of every album I've been a part of with Consider the Source and now with Mono Means One and my solo stuff. But there's definitely a qualitative difference when we've been in a studio where maybe we're set more in nature than we are in like a stuffy studio environment. Even studios that are comfortable, there's something very different when you can wake up and there's no cars around, and there's no planes, and there's no nothing. There's just wildlife and water and beauty. So the yurt itself was in that environment. So, and I had recorded there before, so I knew it had that comfort to it. And so I took a risk, and I might have mentioned this last time we talked, but I brought my engineer Ian into the mix, who's brilliant engineer. And at first he was really excited, and then he started like looking at the place and thinking about it, and he's like, John, this is a terrible mistake. We should not do this. This is not a studio. This is not, this isn't going to work the way you think it is. I'm like, come on, man, just give it a try. And then he did, and now he's super proud of it.
That's awesome.
Ray from Trey's band lived in a yurt at one point.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I would, if I could do it full time, man, and have everything else that I need to do taken care of. Yeah. It's very comfortable.
Well, so I kind of want to backtrack just a little bit. So thinking back to, I guess it would be around 2004-ish when Consider the Source kind of started, materializing. Obviously things were a lot different then. That was the year I started teaching. I was a teacher for a long time, so I can even think back. It's a very kind of big moment in my life. The messaging and just the sense of purpose, right, for what you do, I'm sure has shifted. Like you said, we grow, we change, all of that. So for Consider the Source, was there also kind of an overarching kind of purpose to the music in that way, or was that a different entry point for you, for why, like the why of it?
That's a very good question. So the intentionality element was certainly the same for this specific reason. I mean, don't get me wrong, the name of the Mono Means One album name, a lot more goes into the songs than just that element, right? Sure. But when Consider the Source was first starting, social media wasn't as much of a thing. We were literally using MySpace, dating myself here, right? That's how we started touring.
We're with you, John.
Yeah.
I just know that.
Thank you for understanding me. We were doing MySpace, and me and Justin, our old drummer, we were contacting bands through there and making, relationships with other bands and venues through that. And it was, of any platform, it was kind of it was the nicest. It was, very helpful for artists. And it was that way pretty much until the end, as far as I can remember, at least. And so that element of it wasn't part of it, but we were very intentional. Justin and we had grown up playing music together, and we were just obsessed with all of it, with going to music, with playing it. We were always in bands together. We were in metal bands. We were in jazz bands. We were in rock bands. if one of us was in a band, the other one ended up in it. And it's all we wanted to do. We used to talk about, these hypothetical, would you rather do this or music? And it was always music, no matter what ridiculous scenario we came up with. And we always felt just so passionate about it. And then when we met Gabriel, it was, we hadn't really met that many other people that were equally passionate. He had his own interests. We had our own interests, and there was some overlap for sure. But the thing that we all had in common was that we didn't care if we fell in line with pop culture and the kind of music that we were playing. We just wanted to kind of improvise and write these, kind of grandiose, intense, emotionally impactful compositions. And we wanted to play them for people who it would resonate with. And that was really the underlying thing. It was just complete abandonment, artistic expression, without the confines of really giving a crap if it was going to be, if we were going to be famous or how sellable it was going to be. And that has been, I think, the ethos with us the whole time, even though we've all grown and changed and whatever. But that's something that even with any project that any of us are in, we try to bring to the table.
Wow. Yeah. Including that international view too. Always making sure that there's danceable music, but with these influences, from everywhere, honestly. And part of me, thinks with the instrumental element that gives people some mental space to actually process what they're hearing in a different way than if there were lyrics. Kevin and I, we talk to a lot of folks where it's an instrumental trio or something. And I'm always that person to say, for me, that actually gives me some comfort when I'm at a show, because I can take that wherever I want to go.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm the same way. And, I'll listen to, bands that I love with vocals, Radiohead, artists like Tom Waits. I love these players so much. And I don't even really know what the hell they're talking about. I just listen to the way that they sing and the way they use their voice as an instrument. And it's like the intention behind what they're doing is much more conveying than anything for me. Words can tilt people, and they have different connotations for different people. And I guess you could say the same thing for instrumental music, but if you're in tune with what an instrumentalist is doing and they're in tune with what they are doing, what you can get as a listener is very palpable, emotionally packed, for sure.
Do you think that not having vocals presents any kind of barrier? I mean, if you think back, when was the last time an instrumental song was a hit song? I mean, I could think of like Soulful Strut from Young Holt back in the 70s, but
yeah. No, I mean, you'll see songs that are maybe instrumental that get big on movies or TV shows or something. Right. But yeah, you very, very, very rarely see it. I really can't. I live sort of adjacent to modern pop culture, so I don't even know what's popular right now. But yeah, that's been a thing for a while. But as I said before, I think any of the projects that I'm a part of, hey, if something happens and millions of people start following us and they love it, that's awesome. But we're not shooting for that. If we were shooting for that, it would kind of undermine everything that I'm saying to you guys today. If we were to sort of premeditatedly, yeah, let's play this crazy thing in 9 and 7, but then also let's talk about our pickup trucks,
right?
And whatever things that are whatever. Right. I have no idea what anyone talks about in pop music.
I love it.
You said that all the original batch of songs were all stuff that you wrote by yourself and had layered. Now that you have the guys with you, you're writing with them. They're layering in real time now. Is that what's going on?
Well, so the way it works is, so I build the scaffolding to a point where it's we have a melody, we have a chord progression, we have a bass part already because I write them, with the two-hand tapping technique. So I usually keep that part, but not always. And so what I do is I kind of go through a list of, okay, these things are integral. Like these specific elements of the song have to stay. I really think that they serve the song really well. The drum part that I sent you, I don't know what the hell I'm doing, but it's something like this. So Rob, do your thing, own it. You know, as long as it has let's say the second chorus comes around, it needs a lift, give it a lift, but give it the lift that you think it needs. And with Isaac, where I do write the melodies and counter melodies and harmonies and such, he has a lot of freedom in the tones that are used, in the voicings of the chords. And of course, I'm always open to, they're both fantastic musicians. So I'd be a fool to not, listen to their ideas when they bring them to the table. One of the things I've definitely learned over the years is, you can't be that myopic. You can have a little bit of it. You can have a little bit of it, but one of my favorite bass players and composers is Dave Holland, amazing jazz upright bassist. And one of my favorite things about him was that he would write these songs, beautiful compositions, amazing player. But you would listen to his albums, and if you didn't know it was his band, you couldn't tell. He didn't insist upon himself. He just sort of he found people that had a chemistry that worked together, and it was really a combined effort. And that's what I'm looking for. I saw that Isaac and Rob as they're already incredible players individually, but they have an amazing connection. And I had a hunch that the three of us would as well. And thankfully I was right. And so I've learned right from the beginning to kind of trust them. So unless they bring something back that I think is kind of not at all serving the idea, I'm very open to their ideas and their thoughts, and I invite it. So, it's tough because, I do write the songs and I feel very emotionally connected to them, but I can't take full responsibility for how great they sound on the album, for example. I really give them so much of the credit.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how do we translate what is on the album, what you're doing in the studio, to the live arena?
Well, it's we're able to do most of the layers, which is cool. But some of them we have to just not have. And the cool thing is, I learned this from years of being in Consider the Source, where we would add all kinds of crazy layers to some of our songs, is that it gets compensated by the raw energy of the live performance. So in Monomeans one of the songs is a song of ours called Decisions Made in a Dream. And there's the second verse comes around and there's this kind of pinch harmonic counter melody that I have way in the background that isn't there the first time. We play it live, I'm hearing it in my head and I'm like, damn it, I wish one of us could do this, but we just can't. There's just too much stuff going on. But you listen back to the live recording and Rob's going nuts during that part and playing beautifully. The tones Isaac has picked, he's expressing the melody so beautifully. You just say, okay, not a big deal to those things. And we also bring a lot more improv to the live set. So that's a whole nother element where there is a lot of improv on the album, but it's much more prominent when we play live, the interactivity and the rawness of it.
How does that work then? Are you maestroing, for lack of a better word, or, what does that flow look like?
Well, so we do this thing where we have the compositions and then we have the set solo sections. And then we have cues worked in for how to get in or out. And sometimes it's me calling it. Sometimes it's Isaac calling it. It just depends on the specifics of the solo section and what makes most sense for the particular song. And we just sort of vibe it out song by song. Sometimes there's one new song where the idea is just to freak out at a moment and just lose the tempo altogether and just go nuts and beat the crap out of your instrument. And then Rob comes in with a 4 count, and then we segue into a left turn new section of the solo. So we have fun with it. We really do. We really just try these different things out. And when we don't stop until we find the right method of getting from point A to point B. And the two of them are so good with improvising. So, and I've been doing it for years with Consider the Source. So we all feel very comfortable in that realm of just taking risks. We've also, if you've been improvising for a long time and you've been in a band that has a lot of that element for a long time, you know what it feels like to train wreck in front of a large audience, and you've become very comfortable with that. So it's okay to like do that, and if it is terrible, you laugh it off and then you keep going. So luckily we haven't had any of those moments yet.
Beautiful thing about the jam band scene is you are allowed to have a train wreck once in a while and people are still going to cheer.
Oh yeah, as long as you're cool with it, they're cool with it. You know,
right? What is the thing you do? You make a mistake, you do it 2 more times, and then it's
you do
the
it
song.
2 more times. Yep, exactly. Yep.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, and well, I guess we could stay there for a second in terms of the scene itself. You know, you all, whether it's Consider the Source or I think Mono Means One, you know, it's very easily kind of absorbed, you know, into the gelatinous jam bands scene as it is, which I love. That's definitely not a negative.
Yeah, sure.
But, you know, how has the jam band community, you know, historically kind of reacted to what you do? Have you felt that connection, or are there times when maybe you think jazz or something else would be kind of a better fit for your music?
Yeah, it's tough. We've always so with Consider the Source, we've always we found ourselves in the jam scene. It embraced us more than any other scene, but part of that is also because the sheer volume of the jam scene just has, I think, more people or more active people. Mm-hmm. You know, we have metalheads that come to our shows, but metalheads are typically, you know, and I hate to speak in absolutes like that. You know, it's people are much more nuanced than that, but the scene itself, at least when CTS was first starting, was very like, you're metal or you're not. And if you're not, we're not into you. And of course, not everyone was like that, but I experienced it firsthand from previous projects that I was in. So the jam scene is much more inclusive in every department they are, right? So when we started playing and they saw that there was this improv element to it, a lot of people flocked to us because of that. However, a lot of people were just too much. Where we write mostly in minor keys. We don't really do covers, and the covers that we do are not like Grateful Dead or Fish covers or things like that. You know, we'll do like, you know, like jazz or Radiohead or, you know, Pantera or something like that. You know, so a lot of people really dug what we were doing because it was so different. A lot of people kind of like it, and a lot of people are just like, I don't know what to make of this. So so far with Mono Means One, we're finding, you know, I think it's seeming like a little bit more widely accepted, even though we're not nearly as, we haven't been in the scene for as long. Isaac and Rob are a little bit more in that scene. They have gone to shows, you know, that are shows that like the three of us wouldn't go to on our own for many years. And they're more embedded in that style, but they also like all this other stuff as well. So they also like the jazz and the heavier stuff. So them bringing that element to it, and me also being able to play a little bit more of like just raw funk at moments, which is something I grew up loving funk and playing a lot of Jocko stuff and jazz fusion in that way. So I could do more of that, which isn't as appropriate in Consider the Source. So we have, you know, some different elements where it's seeming like, you know, we just played a set at at Strange Creek Festival over the weekend in Massachusetts, and it was incredibly well received. And that's a very like jam band heavy festival. And so we're finding that it's, you know, luckily very well received in that scene.
What tracks off the album do you find are resonating the most with crowds? What's the hit?
Well, we have Imagine Battles. That's the punch in the face right as the album starts. It hits you right away. And so we'll either begin a set with that if we really want to capture everyone's attention, or we'll end with it because it's a perfect closer too. On the album itself, we've heard probably more praise for that song, The Law of Vacant Places, which starts off really chill for the first couple minutes, which I'm very proud of. And I'm proud of the listeners too, because it's a very patient song for the first couple minutes. You know, you really have to be
slow build.
It's a slow build. Yeah. Exactly. speaking of social media stuff before, that's not something, if I post a video of my part of that, no one will watch it. But, but having it on the album and people are like just listening to it and really enjoying it, it's great. And also a song called The Eyes Have It, which started off as a solo piece that I put on one of my solo albums and then turned into a Mono Means One piece. And people are responding very well to that song as well, which is making me very, very happy.
Fantastic. I love it. Now, where can somebody buy? Can we buy a physical copy, or are we only on streaming platforms?
Yeah, I have a Bandcamp page. Mono Means One so far does not have a Bandcamp page, just because I'm doing everything on my own right now, and creating yet another page is a lot. But if you check out John Ferrara Music at Bandcamp, you'll see all the Mono Means One stuff up there. You can definitely get it there. And we have an Instagram page and a website, monomeans1.com. You could also get to it from there.
Have you been releasing your live shows too on Bandcamp through your page?
Not yet, but it is something that we're going to start doing in the very near future. We have a couple recorded that are kind of in the holster, just need a couple of tweaks, and we're going to start doing that. We just want to give the initial studio album a little bit more space to kind of get out there on its own. But over the summer, we're going to start doing that for sure.
Have you listened to them, what you recorded?
Oh, the live ones?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
No, I'll nitpick and I'll get in my head. I'd rather just accept that there's a bunch of mistakes and it's cool.
Well, yeah, well, we've heard people like say that when they walked off stage, they thought something was just horrible or the best thing ever, and when they listened back, it was the opposite.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Consider the Source. We've put out a bunch of live albums, and there was one album that we recorded it in Oneonta at one of our gigs, Oneonta, New York. And we got off stage like embarrassed. We're like, oh, they were taping that show. That was awful. We wouldn't even talk to each other. We're so upset. We got the recording back like a week later, and we're like, guys, this sounds incredible. This is going to be the album. We're going to put most of these songs on the next album.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I know if I remember correctly, I forget the exact title, but it's like Fuck It, We'll Do It Live. There were different volumes, right? I think. Yeah.
We have several volumes, and we still have more on the way. Nice. It's a dated Bill O'Reilly reference, but it makes us laugh every time we put out one of those albums.
Oh no, it's great. But I mean, I love that, and understandably too, the music you're making for any artist, it's emotional and it's personal. I think it'd be fair to say there's another layer or level to that for what you do, just because of the inherent messaging that you are kind of putting in there. So. Putting anything out live to me I respect that so much, and it's a great thing for us to be able to have access to, so we can hear, between the studio and the live cuts, kind of what happens in the translation of those.
Right. Yeah, I think it's a really cool thing. That's one of the things that when many years ago when we started embracing this scene and it started embracing us, which was beautiful, we started learning about archive, right, and how all these bands were on archive.org. And actually, Mono Means One does have a couple of live sets up on archive right now. I started really feeling like a kinship a little bit with the scene because I'm all about leaving mistakes there. I don't always want to hear them myself, but I'm all about it. Like, this is the truth. This is what we did. There were mistakes. We are not perfect. Humans are not perfect. And that's awesome. That's fine. That's just the way it is. And once again, it's another statement of the opposite of the way things are now, where everyone sees these perfectly manicured things all the time, and it gives people a false sense of what things are. I love that there are millions of hours of live material from all sorts of different bands of them playing beautifully and then making a mistake and then recovering from it and seeing the creative ways that they do that. I think it's beautiful.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. So one of my favorite music terms, I think it comes from jazz, is a bar line shift. And that was the name of my old radio show. A bar line shift. Yeah. It's like where, you play, a chord, perhaps a measure before or after, and it could be intentional, but often it's an accident. But when that happens, it makes an impression, but it's this little moment, and it's usually an incredible moment. And even, it has its own name. And I love the idea of that, of embracing that moment.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the, some of the best recordings you've ever listened to, either you notice those moments or you don't, but you do on some level resonate with the fact that they're all in it together and they're all saying, oh crap, what was that? Okay. Where's the snare? Okay, there it is. Okay. Now I know where I'm at. All right. We'll follow him. Yeah, I love those moments. I think they're beautiful. And I think we take a lot of risks, unless we're afraid something's going to be a train wreck. And even then, sometimes we'll still say, yeah, whatever, go for it. It's worth putting those things in for sure.
Awesome. Cool.
So are you guys, you said that I guess you're still writing new stuff. Do you have your eye towards getting back in the studio? Or are you just going to ride this one out for a few months and then think about that?
I haven't even told the guys, but I am already thinking about the next studio session and what songs I want on it. Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying I know exactly when that's going to be, but I would like to put things out, at least once every year or year and a half, if possible.
Right.
Like I said, we have a lot of stuff in the holster. We just have to get together to work on it. And I'm always writing solo pieces, and I'm always thinking about solo pieces that I've already finished and how they would translate in this particular project. And now we're about a year into playing with each other. We started, our first show was last July, like one of the first days of July last year. But I'm learning what sorts of songs that I had initially written for Mono Means One will work best with the three of us. And which ones maybe they can exist in a different project, or I can, just put them on the bookshelf. I have no problem doing that, So now that I have a better idea, I'm like really excited. I'm like, oh man, wait till I show the guys this song or this song. They're going to kill it. It's going to be great. So yeah, I'm thinking maybe hopefully sometime, beginning of next year, we'll, get back into the studio and start figuring out what we want to do.
We do this thing that we call Wook Club, where we listen to Fish shows, and we go, not Amanda and I, some other guys. And we were listening to a 91 Fish last night. Of course, Picture and Nectar came out in February 92. They already were debuting riff songs 2 months before Picture and Nectar came out. And that didn't come out till a whole year after that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah.
Well, but that's how it goes. I mean, like with Consider the Source, we're like Tool. It's like we'll record an album, sit on it for 5 years, and then finally put it out, which is what we're doing now.
Do you think that now that you're writing songs with the guys and playing live, that it's going to help the songs find out who they are, doing the road testing of them, or are you not road testing new stuff?
Well, we're still so new, so so far it's pretty much been like, hey guys, here's a song, let's learn it, and then we're gonna play it live.
We need it in the set list.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, we have 3 hours to fill. Please, let's get this up. Actually, you know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, there are already a couple of songs that were on the table that I took back. Right. Yeah, that's actually very true. There's one song called "It Covered the Sky," and that's actually the first song that I put out as Mono Means One as just a solo thing. And I love the song, and I think I'm very proud of it, but it just wasn't working. And I'm not saying I'm going to give up on it. I think we're going to revisit it in the future and try to just give it more time. I think it just needed more nuance than we had the time to work on, And there's a song called Waltzing Gray, which is the last track on Listless Playthings. And certain audiences, it goes over really well, but it's very proggy and very moody and also another slow build for a while. And I love playing the song, but that's what we played the other day. Like we couldn't play that song there. Like it just wouldn't have worked. It would almost be like buzzkill for the audience. So learning which kinds of songs will work live, which ones would be better just for studio or for different kinds of audiences.
Where can we find you? Where can I go see you if I wanted to this weekend or next weekend or the next couple months?
Well, if you look us up on Spotify, we have all of our shows listed there. and on monomeans1.com, we have it there. But the next couple of weeks, we will be in Philadelphia at the Rotunda tomorrow on May 31st. Next week, we're doing Brattleboro, Vermont. I'm sorry. First, we're doing Flow Jam Festival down in Rixieville, Virginia. Then Brattleboro at the Stone Church. Then we're going to be in Long Island at Industry. And then the following week we'll be down south, Greensboro, Asheville, and oh my God, my brain's it's eluding me. There's so many dates. We're doing Bonnaroo. We're doing Bonnaroo next Wednesday. That's like a pre-show.
Oh yeah, Bonnaroo. That's
you guys
right.
Ever hear of Bonnaroo? Yeah, we're gonna be doing this little mom and pop festival, and 5 Points Music Sanctuary in Roanoke, Virginia, which is honestly one of my favorite venues in the whole country. So.
Are you putting extra thought into the Bonnaroo set list, or maybe not because you didn't even remember
it? Well, it's going to be a shorter set. We're sharing the stage with a bunch of other bands. So what we're going to do is our most balls to the wall songs. So we'll be bringing a lot of energy in a very short amount of time. I think we have maybe a 50-minute set or something. Nice. Yeah, we're super
you never know who's going to be walking through that crowd in that 15 minutes while you're there, man.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, and that's for our career, but also just for our emotional release. We try to bring it the same as best we can to every single show. So
are you hanging? Are you going to be hanging at the festival afterwards, or are you just hopping in the van and you got to get to the next town?
We'll be hanging for a bit. I mean, our next show is pretty far from there. It's in Greensboro, North Carolina, so it's a bit of a hike. But, coincidentally, the original drummer from Consider the Source, he runs a venue, a very interesting venue in Brooklyn called the House of Yes. It's kind of like they do everything there. They have all sorts of different stuff. And they have like their own campsite shindig going on. So we might hang out and go check that out for a little bit and then make our way over to the rest of the shows proper.
Awesome.
There you go. That's fantastic. Is there anything else that you want to throw out? Anything to keep our eye on beyond Mono Means One?
Well, we have I have a bunch of solo stuff I'm going to start releasing monthly, probably starting in July. I'll just do singles with little videos attached to them. Big news is that we haven't officially announced a date yet, but Consider the Source will be releasing an album in the fall as well.
Breaking news.
That's also one that we started working on down in Asheville when I was living down there, and we actually recorded it in the house I was living in. We had the producer come live with me too. We had an engineer come in, rig the whole place to be a studio for a couple weeks. And so it's a very special album. It sounds incredible. The engineer that worked on it, a man named David Prater, he worked on Dream Theater's Images and Words, an album that I listened to religiously when I was younger. So we're very proud of the album. It sounds incredible. Can't say anything else, but keep an eye out for that.
Oh, that'll be great. I mean, it's so wonderful that you have these different outlets, right, to be able to continue just making these moments of art. I'm sure that is excellent release in whichever direction that happens to go in.
It really is, and we always talk about how lucky we are to have found this ecosystem where we have so many lovely people that really have become very close friends of ours over the years. Mm-hmm. and we're always meeting new people. If you like the kind of music that we play, you're a weirdo just like us, so we can really
come on in.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We'll get along.
There is a bond there, though. I definitely agree with that. It's kind of an understated thing, but it's there.
It is, yeah. No, we're very fortunate, and I'm very fortunate that I'm able to do different projects that are as esoteric and whatever weird as they are, and I'm able to kind of sustain a living through it. So very, very, very lucky man.
Awesome. Thank you.
Well, thank you for coming on. We really do appreciate it. Hang out for a sec after I run the outro. For everybody watching, please like, subscribe, find us on our socials. We're going to have all kinds of links down in the show notes about John and Mono Means One, etc. in the next day or two. And remember, Stay beautiful, but don't stay underground too long.